Hey everybody, welcome to Let's Level Up Friday. I'm Vicki Williams. I'm the Tennessee State Broker at Epique Realty. And every Friday I'm interviewing top producing agents, team leaders, and leaders at Epic and asking them to open their playbooks and share their secret sauce with you so that you can level up your business. And today I'm super excited to have my good buddy, my friend, Bryne Duren, our Florida managing broker on this call. Hey, Brian, welcome. So, Brian, let's get into it. Tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about all the hats you've worn in your career. You've been an agent, a broker, a leader of over 400 agents now in Florida. So, tell us a little bit about your journey and what inspired you to get into leadership.
I got into leadership because I had some good leaders. And my very first leader told me there's a circle of life. And when you learn something, you need to pass it on. And so that got instilled in me in my late teens, early 20s. And ever since that, and I've just always let me learn something, let me share something, let me learn something, let me share something.
Love
And
that.
also being a father helps, inherit that into you as well.
Yeah, you're always teaching when you're a parent, for sure.
Mhm.
So you worked in sales before real estate. You were car sales for a little while, but then you did door-to-door sales for a long time where you sold cable, I believe. And through that experience, we discussed how you had to learn persuasion, tonality, and how to build rapport quickly, or you're going to get the door slammed to your face, right? So you just had a brief window of opportunity to really make an impact with that person on the other side of that door. Tell us a little bit about that season of your life and how those lessons help you today.
Right. So I think I didn't share everything with you in that because I realized I've only had sales jobs. My very first one, I was selling party light candles. If anybody knows what that is, my mom used to sell party light candles. And I would go and set it up, watch her do her thing, and then when I turned 18, she's like, "You have to do this. You'll be great." And so I did that for a little while, and then I moved to Florida, and I got a wait. I was a waiter, and they had a competition. So I'm a competitive person, so I always sold the most desserts, or sold the most alcoholic beverages, or sold this special today. But then really getting into the door knocking is where I learned sales, true sales, and that was when I started to read and develop. Because you have that first first time you meet someone, 30 seconds, that little window to break down that wall. It was always a mean, nasty wall that you were trying to bust down, and you have to find something. So you quickly would learn they're a Tennessee fan, they're a Dolphins fan. You would just pick something out and not start with a sales pitch, but somehow to relate to that person. And so I would relate to them quickly and then introduce myself. And then that would bring down their wall, and they were more likely to talk to you about something because you already had something in common.
So, in your real estate business, you use those same techniques. When you're meeting a buyer or a seller for the first time or hosting an open house, the quicker you can make that connection, the easier the conversation is going to go.
Yeah, and I would steal ideas from HGTV. When I was showing homes, I would name the homes. So I have a rule where I only show 4 homes to one client in one day. Unless there's an extreme case where they're out of town and they only have a weekend, then we might see more. But if they live in town and they're looking to buy and they're looking for a certain style, certain model, certain bedrooms, we're only going to look at 4 because then it just becomes a cluster after that. So it'd be like the big blue house, the pool home, or the tree garden. And I would name all of them because I got that from HGTV. And so people would see that and they would like that and they would want to keep going back to it. And one thing that I used to do, I would let them pick their 4 homes or 3 homes, and then I would throw in my pick based on what they've told me that they wanted. And I would say, you didn't see this, or maybe you didn't find it, or maybe it wasn't on my list, but it might be out of your range, out of your area, or it's a little different. Let's go take a look at this. It was like I called it my surprise home. So it was always labeled as surprise home. And I had a streak of 4 clients where we saw their 3 or 4 homes and then saw my surprise home, and they picked the surprise home, which was really cool because it was based off of what they told me that they wanted. and they thought what they wanted. And then I was like, well, let me, on my experience, just throw in a little caveat. And I had a streak of, I think it was four. A couple other people picked, but I had four clients in a row. So I only showed them four homes, and that was it. It was really cool.
Which lends to the importance of listening to your clients, really having strong buyer consultations, digging deep. It's not just about beds, baths, and square footage. You really have to know what they truly want in a property and then be an expert at finding that property for them. So let's talk about confidence because a lot of agents struggle with confidence early on. They have that imposter syndrome and other things that we know happen in this industry. But you mentioned there's one thing you did early on to get confidence super quickly, and that's knowing contracts and knowing market stats. So, what are the top 2 to 3 things every agent should study until they can rattle them off without hesitation?
Right. So you said the most important one, the contract. You should read the purchase and sale agreement every day when you're a brand new agent for the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks until you feel like you could say, hey, the inspection period is in paragraph 10, which is line 146 to line 154. Until you can kind of understand it well enough to tell them without looking at it, you should read it and go back through it once a month after that, because every year it changes most of the time. At least in Jacksonville it does. So they put a change. But the other things that I use to build confidence with my clients, I always knew the average days on market, the median sales price, and the median price per square foot. And I have a pretty good gift of being quick on my feet with math and statistics. And so I would rattle off like, oh, well, if this is $200 a square foot is the average, and we're at 1,400 square feet, well, it should be $280,000. They're asking 305. So when we negotiate, we're going to try to come in a little less than that so we can try to get it for 280. And when you could do things like that, people were like, oh, okay, that sounds great.
It's built
That's
in
fantastic.
credibility. Like you make yourself credible when you know your numbers, when you know your craft. This is important for brand new agents or brand new to an area that are looking to gain credibility with their clients. If you don't have the experience, just knowing that data, wow, that's huge.
Mhm.
So when you're looking at brand new agents, and you look at brand new agents on the regular, being the state broker in Florida, one of our state brokers, we have two. We have Hake, who's amazing as well. But when you look at brand new agents, what's the very first advice you give them to start creating momentum in their business right away?
We were all brand new agents at one time, right? Like we could all relate to that feeling, to how much it was tough, or maybe it wasn't that tough. But for me, I felt like it was tough, even though I had sales experience and I knew how to sell. I didn't know real estate, and I always equate it to pushing a rock up a hill. I tell people, you just got to keep pushing that rock to get up that hill, and then once you get to the top, you get that first transaction. It's all downhill from there. That's like I made it through all the steps. I did the showings. I wrote the contract. I negotiated the inspection. We got the appraisal done. We made it to closing. I got that check. Like that's when you're going back downhill and you build on that momentum. So I always encourage them to keep doing what they love to do. So whatever it is that you love to do for your prospecting, that's what you need to do, and you need to stay with it. And that's the important key. Everyone has something different that they like to do or love to do, and they need to find it.
Yeah, don't try to copycat another successful agent and do exactly what they do if it doesn't resonate with who you are. You have to be authentic in this industry, right, Brian?
Mm-hmm. The most authentic, absolutely,
The
and that's what
most
people
authentic.
gravitate towards the most. Yeah.
Absolutely. So find your niche, find what you will commit to and stick to it and keep pushing that rock uphill, that boulder uphill until you have that first successful transaction. And then it will get easier, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And part of our conversation, we also discussed the importance you put on a calendar. And you had a saying that I had never heard before. I'm sure it's been said before, but I had never heard it before. And I've been doing this a long time. I'm not going to tell y'all how long, but I've been doing it a while. You said when you look at an agent's calendar, you can tell if they're going to be successful or not because you're looking for white space, and white space is the enemy to success. So, how can agents build discipline around their schedule and stop letting distractions or other people control their calendar?
White space on the calendar is the enemy, because if you're not in real estate, you're not doing something, then you're not earning and you're not learning, right? It comes down to two things. You need to earn money or you need to learn how to earn the money. And keeping your calendar safe by blocking it off as if you were at a 9 to 5. Tell people, no, I can't help you move. Yes, I'm a business owner. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Yes, I make my own schedule, but I have bills to pay. I have children I'm responsible for, a spouse that I'm responsible for. I have a house and a mortgage. Like, I just can't willy-nilly do it. But you know what? If you need help this weekend and I don't have any showings, I can help you. So it almost goes back to saying no without having to explain yourself. And when you could say no and be firm, that's the confidence part. But also it's having the people respect what you're doing and don't let them disrespect your time.
That's such great advice because a lot of us, especially at Epic, right? We're cloud based. A lot of us work from home. We don't have an office to go where we could be away from distractions, even though in my experience, an office is more distracting perfect personally. But um, I have a spouse who has a flexible schedule. So when he's home and he's not working, he would love for me to also not be working. He wants me to sit and watch his shows with him or go to lunch with him. And he treats my schedule like it's flexible because I allow it sometimes. I used to before I got into the broker role. Now he knows, honey, I get off at 6. Until then, I am not yours. But when you're a realtor and you work from home and you have spouse and you have children, they feel like because you're your own boss and you work from home, that you have flexibility. And when you start allowing that to creep into your day, you're not getting the work done you need to get done. And so you don't believe in having white space, but you also believe in not letting people control your day, being firm to your calendar. Because let's face it, guys, if we were all at a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, would we be able to just go help a friend move? No. Would we be able to just drop everything we're doing to go get our nails done because we felt like it? No. So we need to treat our business like we work for someone else. And we should work harder for ourselves than we do for other people, but we don't in this industry. We don't do that. And so let me get off my soapbox. I'm sorry. Hey, Bryne, you touched a nerve. Look at you.
No, it's good because it correlates into, you still do need to plan time off. You still need to, like, if you need to go get your oil changed, your calendar that should be your color blue, right? Your color red is you can't. So every morning you need to do your follow-up from 9 to 11. That's color red. Color blue is, I have a doctor's appointment. You put it in. And then the color orange might be something else that you have to do, office tests or whatever it may be. But you need to fill that in and you need to block out your time. And you need to also learn to take a little bit of time for yourself so you don't burn yourself out. Because where they say on an airplane, put your mask on first before you help someone else. Because if you run out of oxygen, you can't help anybody. So if you don't de-stress, you don't find those activities, working out, running, whatever it is that you want to do, Pilates, I don't know. But if you don't find time to fit that in there, then you're going to run out of oxygen. You're not going to be good for anybody.
Great advice, you guys. I love that. So Bryne, so far we've been talking about what new agents should do, but what about some things that they shouldn't be doing? What should new agents or agents that are trying to level up, maybe not a new agent, but trying to maybe break through a plateau and level up, what should they not be doing?
They should not be distracted by shiny objects, because real estate has thousands of ways to procure leads, right? And we get hit up for text messages all the time about leads, probably car insurance, probably health insurance. You get hit up and distracted by a lot of different things. But you can't let those distractions hinder what you're doing. Because I think that I don't know if this question goes in later, but we talked about consistency is key. And when you decide to do something, you need to be consistent with it. Whether it's a diet or working out, you don't build muscle if you go to the gym twice a week. You have to go 5 days a week, 6 days a week, depending on your body type and what you're trying to achieve. You don't learn a new language by listening to audio tape for 1 hour a week. You need to listen to it every single day. You need to do it consistently. You can't learn or do anything if you don't do it consistently. You can't earn income if you don't work every single day and you're doing income producing activities.
Exactly. So that also, we also talked about how agents should not try to be the jack of all trades and try to do every type of lead source out there or every type of prospecting there is out there, to instead pick one or two of your top favorites, right? And
Mm-hmm.
lean in on those for at least, you said 3 months.
Yep.
Lean in on those, give it a good 3 months before you decide to shift gears,
Yep.
or to add on another layer.
Exactly. Because you probably only love to do so many things, right? Like, and a lot of them kind of correlate, like from knocking doors. I don't mind cold calling. So I could go out and knock doors for an hour, 2 hours, and then I could come home, eat lunch, and then make calls. And it's similar. Those activities are kind of similar. So find some activities that are similar that you like to do. Maybe it's networking, maybe it's business affiliate, maybe it's introducing new businesses to the community, or maybe it's like the social media, and social media can introduce businesses to the community, and you post about it and you share a video. And don't be so focused on it has to give me a lead. Like I have to get, I think that's where a lot of people like, well, if I don't do something that doesn't give me an opportunity at a sale, then it's not worth it. But that's not true, because you're building your name and your lead will come. When you network with other agents, you don't know when they're going to call you, because you don't know when they're going to get clients. When you put your flyer up at a business, doesn't mean you're going to get a lead that day. When you advertise, you don't get one right away. It's an eventual thing that's going to happen. So having that patience, but being consistent with doing the same thing, will produce those leads that will eventually come to you.
Perfect. That's good. And then you talked about the bullseye analogy, which is kind of what we're talking about too, just staying laser focused. So tell us about that bullseye analogy you believe in so strongly.
Right. So I always tell people you have to close your eyes, and everyone knows what like a dartboard looks like. You have the red bullseye in the middle, and then you have the green double bullseye, and then you have everything else on the outside. Well, you are the double bullseye. You're the main key to the board. You can have influence on the single bullseye that's outside of it, right? Because you could reach out your kids, you can have influence on them, your colleagues, you can have influence on them, your clients, you can have influence on them. But the things that are greater, which takes up a lot more space, you can't have influence on the weather. You can't let it affect your mood, even though sometimes I do. But that's we're all human. We have some negatives, but you can't let politics, you can't let your sports team losing or getting blown out affect how you perform the next day. You can't worry about some other things. Like if you can't influence it, then why worry about it? Why spend the energy wasting the time thinking about it, or being worried or being concerned? Because there's nothing you could do. You can't change the price of gas. You could change your car, but you can't change the price of gas. I mean, like, just if you can't have influence on it, just let it roll off your back and let it go.
Right. Because we talk about how a lot of agents really get bogged down with external circumstances and they let it mentally control their business. But we cannot let the things happening in the world around us sway us from being consistent, being clear with what our goals are, being intentional with our time, filling up that calendar with no white space enemies. We can't let the external world impact us. We've got to be very clear about keeping our eye on that bullseye. And then for agents that have been in the business for a few years now, they're rocking and rolling, but they've plateaued. What's one level up move that you feel could push them into that next power agent territory? So they're capping, they're doing great. How do they get to the power agent?
I just want to go back to the last question real quick,
Yeah,
because I forgot to say something.
yeah,
In my email, I have a quote that says, "A man can control the world when he controls his mind." And so when you control your thoughts and what you say to yourself, because who do you speak to the most? Like,
yeah.
Vicky, who do you speak to the most?
Myself a lot.
You're talking to yourself at all times. So when you could control your mind and you could control your inner thoughts, and then you know that that's what you have a responsibility to yourself to um, take care of your emotions. And when you can't control your emotions, it means you can't control your mind, which means you can't control anything. But if you control your thoughts, you can control your emotions. And it's not what happens to you, it's what happens because of you. And that's kind of the bullseye theory, is that you could only control you. External situations will always happen. Market will go up and down, but people will always need to buy and sell. Investors will need to buy and sell, find new tenants. Things will always happen. And when you control how you react to those situations, that's when you control the world. So I just wanted to go back to that and touch
I
on it.
love that. Thank you for sharing that.
You're
It's a good
welcome.
stuff today. I love your little sayings. I hear new things and I love that so much. Okay, so now let's go back to those plateaued agents. They're capping, they're doing well, they're making 100,000 a year, life is good,
Mhm.
but now they want to level up. What do they need to do?
So uh, when I started to level up in my business, you know that you feel stuck. Uh, you always know what you need to do. You just don't want to do it. I think for me personally, and I think most agents I've talked to, like, you kind of know inherently what you're supposed to do, but you don't necessarily, or you're afraid. It's probably more fear than it is not wanting to do it. It's more of a fear thing. So when I started to level up, I looked at what were successful people doing, because I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I need to see what they're doing and put my flavor on it. Take this and say, this is Bryne, and this is how Bryne's going to do it, and this is how he's going to take care of it and handle it. So I would do things like, instead of one-off workshops, I made it more targeted. I started to get designations. So I said, this year, I'm going to focus on listings. So I got my seller representative specialist designation. And instead of telling people, when they would say, well, what do you do? And I would traditionally, I help people buy, sell, and invest in homes. I would just say, I help sellers sell their home. I made it focused and targeted on what exactly I did. And I went from 3 listings to 9, because that's all I told people. That's all I did. Of course, I accepted buyers. Of course, I worked with buyers, but I made it known that I'm a listing agent and I'm going to help people sell their home. And then it just comes to you. And then you start to manifest, but then you also start to find ways to find sellers, because that's all you think about. That's what you become obsessed with. So you start to find those solutions, like, how do I find more sellers? How do I get more? Because you're like, well, now I have 3. I want 4. I want 5. I need more closings. And you need to get there. So you start to, like, just dig in. And obviously now with chat, it's been crazy. But we just use Google and we just search and try to find different things. So I became very targeted, which then also made me very focused on what I was doing. So like I said, I did the designation. So I knew that. And then I did other classes around that. So like a spider web, this was my main goal, was working with sellers. And then what else can I do? How else can I get sellers? And how else can I focus on other sellers? So I had a map of exactly what I needed to do in order to get more sellers. And I would focus on those things. And that was what I did all the time in order to go from 3 to 9 listings in just a matter of months. And then probably the scariest thing that I would suggest is feedback, that constructive criticism. I went through when I was younger, and then I was like, well, now I need it from my clients, because how else do you build better rapport than ask for feedback? Obviously, you'd ask to leave a review, like, hey, off the record, if I send you some questions, would you be honest and answer them for me? Like, I've already got paid. You've already got your house. But tell me, where can I do better? Because without knowing where I can do better, I can't improve. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So if I'm like 10, 10, 10, 10, 7, well, what was that 7 that I did? Where can I get better? How do I need, was it my communication? Was it you didn't feel the marketing was enough, even though the property did sell? Was it there was enough open houses? What did you feel could have been a little better from your perspective? And that feedback really gives you a lot of information because people will be honest. They were very nice and very cordial about it, but they always had something that you could do a little better, and that's how you grow.
Yeah, that's a really good advice. I love that. Don't just assume that they were 100% happy. There's something that they may be thinking that they don't feel comfortable sharing unless you give them permission to share that and then take that and learn from it. That's awesome advice.
Give people permission. I like that.
Give
Give
them
people permission.
give them
Yeah,
permission to be transparent. I love that too.
yeah.
Okay. So, at Epic, we offer, and this is not an Epic pitch, but everyone on this call right now, I believe, is with Epic. So I'm talking to you that are on this call. At Epic, we have a lot of benefits. We are able to service the solo agent with so many great things that normally you would go to a team to get when you're new in real estate, right? So you and I talked, Brian, about for new agents, sometimes it makes perfect sense to join a team. Sometimes you don't need to, especially at a brokerage that provides you a lot of great tools and ways to be successful. But when do you feel like, what do you think makes sense for an agent when they're new to real estate? Should they join a team? Should they be a solo agent? And when did they make that transition? If they are on a team, when should they transition to solo, if ever?
I think you asked this question because we probably get this a lot being
We
brokers.
do. We do. That's
Talk
why
to
I asked you
agents.
the state broker because you would have answers.
Yeah. So I should have asked you what your thought was on that, but I want to hear it some other time. My thought is everyone knows their personality. Everyone knows what they're good at, and everyone knows how they operate. I have suggestions. So if you come from a salesy background or something where you were semi-entrepreneurial or semi on a sales, you could probably do individual and not have too many hardships. But if you're coming from an office from a 9 to 5, or a teacher or something where you're at one location for a long time, long duration, it might be best to join the team so it feels similar, but you're moving towards the entrepreneurial mindset. It feels similar to your 9 to 5, but you're having the availability of learning and being a part of something that could set you free, right? And I feel like every team leader, that should be their goal, right? Their goal should be to bring people in, let them flourish, and then if they, you know, see fit, like, hey, you're doing 20, 24, 28 sales, you're probably best if you go on your own and make a little more money, and then backfill and then teach someone else, and then they level up and they get more people. Like, I feel like that should be it. But the agent, and they'll know, again, I believe, like, you feel it, like in here you'll feel like I've learned what I needed to learn, so now it's time for me to spread my wings and grow a little more and do a little more. I'm going to say clip this out and send this to them, so I'm going to give them something good.
Okay.
I tell them they've already done the hardest part. You already did the education, you've done the continuing education, and you've done a couple transactions, 1 or 2 or 3. You've been through it, right? You've done the hard part, so you've learned, and now you're growing. And you don't need to worry about other agents because momentum compounds. That little bit that you have is a little bit more than what you had before. So why would you want to give it up? Why would you want to throw it away? So just keep compounding and keep moving up. And doesn't matter like the length of time it takes to grow, as long as you're getting to where you need to go, then you're learning and you're moving forward, and you're doing a little bit more and a little bit better than what you did before. It's obviously very frustrating, and it's very easy to give up, right? It's easy to quit. That's the easiest thing in the world, is to quit and give up. But that's why this real estate is so great, because only the best keep moving forward. And if you have that love, that feel, that passion to see homes, to show homes, to help families, veterans, first time home buyers, if you have that love and that passion, like it feels really good, then you need to keep doing it. You need to keep going and know that your success is not measured against anyone else. It's not measured in transactions. It's measuring how well are you helping those people.
Okay. So we also talked about your view of revenue share. We all know revenue share is a great passive income, and most agents look at it as income. Yay, I made money this month. Not you, Bryne Duren. You look at revenue share in another light as a business booster. What does that mean?
So when I explain Epic, obviously explain all the wonderful benefits, then I explain the opportunities to earn more money. And the greatest one is through transactions, which you do normally as a realtor, but there's also an extra icing on the cake, which is RevShare. You've been in the business, you probably know a couple of people who you've friended. And I said, if you know that they're closing and they're building business, offer them the Epic opportunity, then you could earn on average, let's just say it's $700 per person, because not everybody's a capping agent. I would take that 700 and reinvest it. And more than likely, you probably know 3 to 4 agents. And if you attract those 3 to 4 agents and they each earn you $700, that's $2,100 to $2,800 a year. So if you take that little investment, that little extra icing on the cake, and you take that and you put that into your market budget, whether it's Facebook ads, more open houses, buying leads from probate or divorce attorneys, or networking with them, or hosting parties, or client appreciation, whatever it is, take that money and turn it into another lead generation. And then you will find that you will go from those 12 sales to 14. And now if the average price is like 400,000, like it is in most of America, you're going to earn 3%. That's 12,000 for each home. So that's another 24,000 that you've earned. And you're going to keep growing that way. Then you're going to keep going. And then through being authentic and being genuine and people seeing what you're doing, they're going to come to you. You're going to add another 1 or 2 agents. So you're going to keep leveling up with those agents and helping them. That's how you're going to spend your money. You're going to reinvest it to help you earn a lot more money, not just get rich off of it.
Yes, it's a tool to build your business. It's not a tool to line your checking account with more money to go have a couple of extra date nights. No, don't do that. Take it and reinvest it in your business. And then won't you be more inclined to share the epic opportunity because you know that the results are compounding themselves triple, quadruple, I mean, just huge when you reinvest those revenue dollars. So I love that you look at it from that perspective. Okay. I'm going to end this call with one question. I'm going to skip the last question, Bryne, because I want to ask this question. Who inspires you? Who inspires
Uh,
you every day? Come on.
I thought you were going to go to the other one.
I can ask them both.
So I had a hard time with this, and I still haven't thought of it. When I was a young man, Arnold Schwarzenegger inspired me because he came from another country and lived the American dream. He came over, and his goal was to be the greatest bodybuilder. And then he had a goal to be the greatest actor. And then he had a goal to be a great politician. And he served 3 careers. And if that isn't inspirational, and that doesn't show that when you focus on something that you could go ahead and achieve it, then I don't know what ever will. So as a young man, he kind of inspired me to do a lot of what I do today. But today, as far as like inspiration, it probably sounds pretty cheesy, but I think the best answer is my kids. Because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't want to push to do more and be better and grow. I think they're probably my why.
Yeah,
And not to leave off anyone else, but they are the main why. I think
understood.
the main inspiration.
Love that. Okay, so I'm going to ask you your last question because I do want to hear it. And then we're going to, this is it. This is the last one. Then I want you guys to give us some feedback. What did you learn today? What's a nugget you picked up? Or what's a question you could go back to Bryne with? He's a smart dude. He's really smart. He's got a lot to share. So, Bryne, what's your personal next level up? Where are you aiming to grow in the next year?
So I broke this out a couple of different ways because then I realized it's not all the same. My daily goal is always to be better today than I was yesterday, be a better person, Friday than I was Thursday. Saturday than I was Friday, and grow that way. My business goal is with Hank is to make Florida the standard for Epique. Shots fired. So we're going to make Florida the greatest state ever, and we're going to be who they come to and say, how should we do it? How did Florida do it? How did they get there? And we want Epique to come to us at all times. So that's our business goal. Professionally,
he is talking to the Tennessee state broker right now, just so you guys do understand that. I feel like this is a little bit of an attack right now. No, I'm just kidding. I love that. Okay, go ahead, Bryne.
it's the competition, right? Like
I
that's
love
what
competition. Healthy competition, there's nothing wrong with it.
absolutely. My professional goal is to get to where you're at. Um, professionally and within the company to be a regional broker. So that is my goal because of the whole circle of life. And I was one of the first brokers. I was the third or fourth broker that was hired within the company. So I really want to work with other brokers and really want, especially the newer ones that are growing and up and coming. I want to help them go through some of that. And I think it kind of goes back to me being the oldest child. I'd rather take the brunt of the pain so that others didn't, and then I could explain how to do it better. So they weren't as hurt as I was. I think that's where that comes from. And then finally, my last goal, I guess same as the daily goal, but it's my life goal is always just to leave a lasting impact. And whether it's for my boys or Jessica's girls or any other kids, their friends, or anyone else that just needs something to look to for a good model, but knows that no one is perfect. Like this is a good path. This is a good citizen. This is a good person. This is what I aspire to have a little bit of, but I want them to be a little bit better because that's how we grow. Like I want them to be similar but better. And
I'm gonna kick your butt later, because you're making me cry. Why didn't you should have told me you were gonna say all that. My goodness, I could have some tissues ready or something.
yeah.
That's beautiful. I absolutely love that. I feel that from your heart. So thank you for sharing that. With that, Bryne, I want to sincerely thank you for being transparent and for sharing your secret sauce and your thoughts. A lot of times we have agents on here that will say, do more open houses, do more cold calling, do more this, work on your sphere of influence, and all that's very important. It's super important to do all those things. But you bring a different flavor because you see in broker management, you see agents struggling, you see agents succeeding, you see agents quitting, you see agents joining, you see all the highs and lows of this industry. So you have a unique view from the outside looking in that you could share with the agents that are on this call today. So thank you for being my guest and for sharing so much wisdom and good stuff. So I want to open it up to everyone on the call. If anyone has just come off mute and share with us something today that inspired you or that you have a question about.
Well, thank you for inviting and having, and thank you everyone for coming live. This is, fantastic. I love the support, and that's probably the greatest thing at Epique.
Come on, somebody out there, just
Mindy had a
hit us with
question.
something.
I got you. Hey, Bryne.
Ha.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Oh, perfect. I just got done driving, so perfect timing. If I haven't said it before, I'm gonna say it now. I've always been a big Bryne supporter, and I've always loved him dearly. And I think that he's just a great person all the way around. But gosh, darn it, man, this level up interview was amazing. I think I got to see a little bit more of you in this meeting and how you've just ran our state in a different light. So I just want to say thank you for just being so transparent, because it was great. And secondly, I am going to take that whole ask the questions at the end, the feedback, and be honest. Never even thought about that. And I think that is fantastic. And it's just the truest way to level up yourself. So my word for 2025 was elevate, right? And we're in our last stretch of the year. And I'm going to try to implement this. I'm going to make it a a goal to implement this to help me continue to elevate. So I thank you. I mean, I took so many good nuggets from this, even with driving. I wish I wasn't, so I could write them down, but it was great. And I appreciate you.
Yeah, even go back. Thank you for the kindness. Mindy
Yeah.
has always been awesome, and part of
Big
the reason
heart.
why Florida is awesome, I guess it's in the family, Vicky. So it's in the family, but that's why Florida is successful because of great area leaders, and go back to try to get as many people as possible because people know. I always say the answer is always no unless you ask. So even if you just send out an email, see how many people reply. Everybody go back to all your clients and ask them. Just
Yeah.
if they reply, fantastic. If they don't, no
The
harm, no
touch.
foul.
It's a
Yeah,
touch. You stay top of mind.
yeah, yeah. And one more thing, one of my last favorite things I used to do when I was switching to being a seller, on right around Christmas, New Year's, it's dead. So I went through all my sales for like 5 years and I looked them up in RPR, or Realtor Property Resource. I think most of us have that. And I looked at what they sold for and what their current home value is. And I sent them a letter. I printed out the RPR with a little note and I stuck it in and I mailed it to them. And I got 2 listings from past clients that were buyers and turned into sellers. And by like, I think it was like February 10th, I had 2 new listings just from sending out. It was like 37 or 38 mailers.
Love
Super
that. Great
easy, and
advice.
giving them a little touch and then giving them information. So it's helpful. So
Kahada put something in the chat box, so I'll read that unless she wants to come off and say she says that she loved the way you broke down the time management and pushing it out, and your interview gave a different perspective for her as a new agent. So look at you making a difference right now. Way to
all
go.
right.
Okay.
Love it.
Kahada, thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? Becky
I'll
Zero.
I will chime in as a previous agent in Florida, the first beginning of my career for 20 years. I appreciate Bryne and happy to get to know you. Thank you for reminding me that I want to make a difference in everyone's lives. And sometimes we get so busy trying to figure out what we're doing and what's going to work in the next few months, trying to change things up, don't fix things that aren't broken, but we do have to change things up. I personally have forgotten my heart of helping people achieve their dreams and just, being there to help them. I will say, caveating off your little RPR in the letter, this past year, I've been using Lofty and setting up all my previous clients with evaluations and then
Nice.
updates on what's being sold around them. And I'm working on my 3rd listing from clients from 10, 15 years ago that are now coming to me to sell. Yay.
That's
Because
awesome.
it's easier for me to work listings than buyers, obviously, right now with being busy being an area leader. But you refreshed my inner sunshine today. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
you're
love
welcome.
that.
Love it.
Thank you, Becky. That's awesome. Yes. And Janice said, thank you for the reminder about being consistent. That's really important too. Okay. Anybody else? We have 3 minutes left. Michelle Monastra, can I call on you? Because you're one of Bride's girls in the Panhandle.
Hey, hey.
Hey, hey.
Thanks so much, Bryne. No, I was just out of curiosity. It was so cool because I remember the times where I like have these crazy deals and I've asked everybody and their mom, and then I call Bryne and he has like all these great ideas. I'm like, oh, he's always making light bulbs go off. So thanks a lot, Bryne.
Thank you. Michelle's also one of my co-chairs for Epic Cares because she cares
Oh,
about the addition to her clients.
that's awesome. I love that.
Thank you again. I hope that you put this on YouTube and it's your most viewed video ever.
Of
That's
course
the
it will be.